She walked out of a cheap motel with her hair messed up and his cologne still clinging to her skin. My heart stopped. For weeks I thought I knew who it was, thought I had pieced together every late-night excuse, every fake girls' night, every phantom work dinner. But I was wrong. The truth slammed into me harder than anything I've ever felt, because it wasn't just anyone she betrayed me with. It wasn't some random coworker or a stranger from a bar. It was someone I knew. Someone who had been in my house, at my table, laughing with me like nothing was happening. Someone I should have been able to trust more than anyone else. That night, I didn't just discover my wife's betrayal. I uncovered a secret so twisted, so personal, that it tore apart everything I thought I knew about loyalty, family, and love. And when I tell you who it was, you won't believe it. I don't even know how to start this, but I guess the beginning is the only way. My wife, Anna, and I have been married for 8 years. We met in college, got married pretty quickly afterward, and for a long time I thought we had the perfect life. She's smart, ambitious, and always knew how to light up a room. People used to joke that I was lucky to catch her, and honestly, I believed it. Things between us started shifting a few months back. At first it was small stuff. Her staying late at work more often, being glued to her phone, snapping at me over stupid things like leaving a glass in the sink. Nothing huge, just enough to make me feel like something was off. I brushed it off as stress. She'd just gotten a promotion, so I figured maybe it was the pressure. One Saturday, she said she was going out for a girls' night. Totally normal. She has a few close friends, and I've never been the jealous type. But she left the house in this outfit that she hasn't worn in years. Short dress, heels, full makeup. She looked amazing, don't get me wrong, but she hasn't dressed like that for me in a long time. When I complimented her, she just rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be weird." That stung. She came home late that night. Later than usual. Almost 2 in the morning. She smelled like perfume, but not hers. This was something stronger, muskier. She jumped straight in the shower, which was strange because she normally just crashes after a night out. When I asked how the night was, she gave me one-word answers. Fine, fun, nothing special. I felt like I was talking to a stranger. I told myself not to spiral. Everyone says the worst thing you can do is overthink. But then other things started happening. She started putting a lock on her phone. She never did that before. I casually asked her why, and she said, "Work emails, confidential stuff. You wouldn't understand." It sounded rehearsed. Another time, I overheard her laughing on the phone in the kitchen late at night. She doesn't laugh like that with me anymore. Loud, carefree, almost flirty. When I walked in, she hung up instantly and pretended she was checking an email. I didn't call her out, but my stomach dropped. The breaking point came when my best friend, Mark, invited us to a barbecue. We've known each other since high school. He's practically family. But Anna suddenly didn't want to go. She said she had too much work and encouraged me to go without her. That was weird. She usually loved hanging out with him and his wife. Something about the way she pushed me to go alone felt wrong. I ended up staying home, and she got annoyed. She kept saying, "You should have gone. It would have been fun. Why do you always have to cling to me?" I was stunned. Cling to her? I've been nothing but supportive while she's been distant. The thought hit me out of nowhere. What if it's not just work or stress? What if there's someone else? The idea lodged in my brain and wouldn't leave. Still, I didn't have proof, and accusing her without evidence felt like a suicide mission for the marriage. The last straw, at least for me in this first stage, was a random Wednesday. She said she had a late meeting. I made dinner, waited around, and she didn't get home until almost 11. No texts, no calls. When she walked through the door, I asked where she'd been. She snapped, "Stop interrogating me. Do you not trust me?" She went straight to bed and turned her back to me. That night, I laid awake staring at the ceiling, realizing something was seriously broken. I didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. The morning after that fight, things were tense. She acted like nothing happened, making coffee and humming while scrolling through her phone. I wanted to ask who she'd been with, where she'd really gone, but every time I opened my mouth, the words stuck in my throat. I wasn't ready to blow things up yet. At work, I couldn't concentrate. I kept replaying her words. "Do you not trust me?" That's not something she used to say. It sounded like a line. By lunchtime, I had convinced myself I was imagining things until my phone buzzed with a text from her. "Going to be late tonight again. Don't wait up." No explanation, no emoji, just that. That night, I decided not to sit around waiting. I went to grab a beer at a local bar. Funny enough, one of Anna's coworkers, Jenna, was there. We've talked a handful of times at office parties, nothing major. She spotted me and came over. After some small talk, I casually mentioned Anna had been working late a lot. Jenna raised her eyebrows and said, "Really? We've been leaving on time every day this week." Then she backtracked quickly, like she realized she'd said too much. I didn't push her, but my stomach twisted. So Anna hadn't been working late. She was lying, and not even trying hard to cover it up. When I got home, Anna still wasn't there. Midnight rolled around before I heard her key in the lock. She looked startled to see me awake on the couch. "Why are you up?" she asked, defensive right away. I said, "I couldn't sleep." "How was work?" She froze for half a second before saying, "Busy." That pause told me more than any speech could. The next few days I tried to catch her in little lies. I asked who she went to lunch with. She said, "Nobody." But later I found a receipt from an Italian place for 2 entrees. I asked where her favorite necklace went, the one I gave her for our anniversary. She shrugged and said she must have misplaced it. Anna isn't careless with jewelry. She treats her accessories like treasure. One night, she left her laptop open on the dining table when she went to shower. I never snooped before, but something inside me snapped. I glanced at the screen. Her email inbox was open, but everything recent had been deleted. Clean. Too clean. Nobody deletes everything. When she came back, she saw me near the table and slammed it shut. "What are you doing?" she hissed. I said, "Nothing, just moving it before the cat knocked it over." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. Things between us got colder. Meals in silence. Her spending more time in the bedroom with the door shut. I felt like a guest in my own home. Then came the weirdest moment yet. Mark, my best friend, called me up and asked if I wanted to grab a beer after work. Totally normal. But when I mentioned it to Anna, she got tense. "Do you have to?" she asked. "We barely spend time together as it is." I thought, "Isn't that what you've been choosing?" But I didn't say it. I went anyway. At the bar, Mark was his usual self, loud, funny, talking about sports. But when I asked casually if he and Anna had talked recently, he avoided eye contact. "Nah, not really," he said too quickly. My radar went off immediately. Why would he lie about something so simple? When I got home that night, Anna was already in bed, or at least pretending to be. Her phone was on the nightstand, buzzing with a notification. She grabbed it faster than I've ever seen her move and stuffed it under the pillow. "Who was that?" I asked. "Work," she mumbled, turning away. I lay there staring at the ceiling again, my mind racing. The lies were piling up. The distance between us was growing every day, and the weird tension around Mark was gnawing at me. I wasn't ready to connect the dots, not yet. But deep down, I knew I was circling something big, something ugly. The weekend rolled around, and I suggested we do something together, go out for dinner, catch a movie, anything. Anna immediately shot it down. "I'm exhausted. I just want a night in." Fair enough. But around 8 p.m., she got a phone call, stepped outside to take it, and came back 10 minutes later saying she had to run an errand. An errand? At night? On a Saturday? She grabbed her purse and was gone before I could even respond. I sat there staring at the door after it closed. She didn't come back until after midnight. No explanation, no apology. She just tossed her keys on the counter, said, "Don't start," and went straight to bed. The next morning, I tried again. "Anna, what's going on with you? You're never home, and when you are, you don't even talk to me." She slammed her coffee cup down hard enough to splash. "God, you're paranoid. Not everything is about you. I have a life, you know." Then she stormed out of the kitchen, leaving me with the mess. I was stuck between anger and confusion. Part of me wanted to shout, demand answers. The other part was afraid of what I'd hear. Later that week, Mark invited me over to help him with some home repairs. Totally normal for us. We've done this kind of stuff together since high school. But when I mentioned it to Anna, she suddenly perked up. "Oh, Mark? How's he doing?" she asked too casually, fiddling with her hair. I shrugged. "Same as always." "Why?" "No reason. Just curious." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night at Mark's, I couldn't stop analyzing everything. His wife wasn't around. She was visiting her sister. As we worked on fixing a shelf in his garage, I caught him staring at his phone a lot, smiling at messages he didn't share with me. Usually, he'd read stuff out loud, make jokes. This time, nothing. On the drive home, something clicked in my head. What if Mark knew more than he was letting on? He'd been avoiding eye contact when I mentioned Anna lately. He was acting cagey, and she was suddenly asking about him. But I shoved it aside. Mark's my best friend. There's no way. That Friday, Anna said she was going to a work dinner. I offered to drop her off, but she refused. Don't be ridiculous. I can drive myself. She left in a rush. I decided to test something. Around 9 p.m., I texted her, "Hope dinner's going well." Who all showed up? No reply. 30 minutes later, I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. She didn't get home until almost 1 a.m. Her excuse? My phone died. But when she plugged it into the charger, the screen lit up instantly. 80% battery. She noticed me looking and snapped. What? I used the car charger earlier. Don't act like a detective. The next day, Mark called to see if I wanted to catch the game at his place. I almost said no, but curiosity got the better of me. When I got there, Anna's scarf, the one she claimed she lost, was draped over a chair in his living room. My heart stopped. "Hey, isn't that Anna's?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Mark looked at it for half a second too long before saying, "Oh, maybe. She must have left it here at the barbecue last month." He tossed it onto a shelf like it was nothing. But here's the thing. Anna didn't go to that barbecue. She skipped it, remember? I didn't call him out. Not yet. But inside, something broke. The coincidences were piling up into something that didn't feel like coincidence anymore. That night, lying next to Anna in bed while she scrolled on her phone with her screen tilted away from me, I realized I was getting closer to the truth. I just didn't know how much it would hurt when it finally hit me. The scarf at Mark's place kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't shake it. Every time I looked at Anna, I pictured her draping it over a chair, laughing with someone who wasn't me. I didn't bring it up right away. I wanted to see if she'd slip. A couple of nights later, while she was brushing her teeth, I asked casually, "Hey, remember that scarf you lost? Did you ever find it?" She spat into the sink, didn't even look at me. Nope, probably gone for good. My chest tightened. She lied without hesitation. The next weekend, Mark suggested a poker night at his place with a few other guys. Usually Anna encourages me to go, says it's good to hang with the boys. But this time, when I mentioned it, she frowned. "Do you really have to? Can't you skip it?" That stopped me cold. "Why? It's just poker." She shrugged too quickly. "I just thought we could spend time together. That's all." But when Friday came, she conveniently had plans with a friend. So I went to Mark's. And there it was again, little hints that made no sense. Mark kept stepping outside to take calls. When he came back in, he'd act distracted, tapping his fingers on the table. Around midnight, I excused myself to use the bathroom. On my way back, I passed his bedroom door. It was slightly open. On the nightstand, in plain view, was a bottle of perfume, the exact brand Anna wears. Not similar. The same one. My throat went dry. Why the hell would Mark's wife use the same perfume? I'd been around her plenty of times, and she never wore it. I went back to the poker table, barely hearing the jokes and trash talk. My mind was a mess of alarm bells. The next morning, Anna acted hungover, even though she claimed she just grabbed drinks with a friend. She smelled faintly of that same perfume. When I asked who she went out with, she waved me off. "You don't know her." I stared at her across the table, wondering how many lies she could stack on top of each other before they collapsed. A couple days later, I decided to test her again. I told her I'd be working late. In reality, I drove around, trying to clear my head. When I finally headed home, I noticed something. Mark's car parked 3 blocks from my house. It wasn't unusual for him to be in the area. He lives nearby, but at that hour, and so far from his own place. I parked and sat in my car for 10 minutes, waiting. Sure enough, Anna came out of the house a few minutes later, looking around like she was checking if the coast was clear. She walked straight toward that parked car. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt. But I didn't move. I couldn't. I watched her get into the passenger seat, the taillights flare up, and then they drove away. I didn't follow. Something in me refused to see it play out in real time. I just sat there, in the dark, in front of my own house, trying to process the fact that my wife had just slipped into another man's car like it was the most natural thing in the world. When she got home later, I pretended to be asleep. She slid into bed quietly, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. My fists clenched under the blanket. I didn't know how much longer I could keep this up, but I also knew I was getting dangerously close to the truth. After that night with the car, everything I looked at seemed different. Our house felt smaller, heavier. Every word Anna said sounded rehearsed. Every smile felt fake. The following Monday, she was in a rush to leave for work. I noticed her bag was heavier than usual, almost like she'd packed an overnight kit. I asked, "Big day at the office?" She snapped, "Don't start," and slammed the door behind her. I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick, stayed home, and just sat there in silence. Around noon, I finally forced myself up and started tidying the kitchen, more out of nerves than anything else. That's when I noticed a receipt sticking out of the trash. A hotel bar. 2 cocktails. From the night before. When she got home, I tested her. "How was work today?" She smiled too brightly. "Exhausting. Meetings all day?" I nodded, holding that receipt in my pocket like it was burning a hole through me. Later in the week, Mark invited me over again. I almost said no, but I needed to see him. I needed to look him in the eye. His house looked normal enough, but when I walked in, his wife gave me a strange smile. Forced. Tight. Like she knew something but wasn't going to say it. She went upstairs almost immediately, leaving us alone. Mark poured us drinks, but he barely touched his. He kept checking his phone, putting it face down every time a message came through. I asked, "Everything okay?" "Yeah, fine," he said quickly. Too quickly. I tried to steer the conversation, asking about his weekend. He scratched the back of his neck and muttered something about being busy. The whole time, I couldn't stop staring at the faint red scratch near his collarbone. He tried to cover it with his shirt, but I'd already seen it. That night, back home, Anna crawled into bed earlier than usual. She tried to cuddle up to me, which she hadn't done in weeks. It felt staged, like she was trying to prove something. I lay stiff, pretending to be half asleep. 2 days later, I came home earlier than usual. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed the blinds in the living room shifting like someone had moved them quickly. I walked in, and the room smelled faintly of cologne again. The TV was on, volume low, but the couch cushions were out of place. Anna came out of the hallway a minute later, hair slightly messy, acting surprised. "You're home early," she said, her voice higher than normal. I asked, "Why does it smell like cologne in here?" She froze for a fraction of a second, then laughed. "Oh my God, you're imagining things. Maybe it's from the laundry detergent." Her excuses were getting worse, and she wasn't even trying to make them believable anymore. That night, I barely slept. My heart pounded every time I closed my eyes. I kept seeing her in someone else's arms, whispering the same lies she fed me. The next day, Mark texted me, "You free this weekend? Let's hang out." My stomach dropped. The last thing I wanted was to sit across from him, pretending everything was fine. But part of me needed to. I needed to watch him squirm, see if I could confirm what my gut was screaming. I didn't reply right away. I just stared at the screen, torn between friendship and betrayal, between denial and the truth I wasn't ready to face. Because deep down, I already knew where this was headed. I agreed to meet Mark that weekend. I told myself it was just 2 friends hanging out, but really, I was going there to study him. We met at a sports bar we'd gone to 100 times before. Normally, he'd be cracking jokes, teasing me about my lousy beer choices. That night, though, he was restless. He checked the door every few minutes, like he was expecting someone else. His phone stayed face down the entire time, buzzing every so often. Each time it did, he tensed. I finally asked, "Something going on?" He forced a laugh. "Nah, just work crap." I stared at him. I'd known Mark for more than half my life, and I could tell when he was lying. This was one of those times. When I got home, Anna was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She didn't even look up when I walked in. "How was your night?" she asked flatly. "Fine," I said. Then, just to test her, I added, "Mark says hi." She stiffened for a second, barely noticeable, but I caught it. "Oh, cool," she said, pretending not to care. The tension was eating me alive. Every time she smiled, I wondered who she really smiled for. Every time she laughed, I wondered if it was the same laugh I overheard on the phone weeks ago. A couple of days later, I left work early again. Something told me to. When I pulled into the driveway, Mark's car wasn't there this time, but Anna's was. The house looked normal, but when I walked in, I noticed 2 wine glasses on the counter. One was hers, half empty with lipstick on the rim. The other was clean, but damp, like it had just been rinsed. I asked, "Did you have someone over?" She didn't miss a beat. "Yeah, Jenna. We had a quick glass of wine. You just missed her." I nodded, but my chest burned. I remembered Jenna's words at the bar. that Anna hadn't been working late like she claimed. Now Anna was using her as a cover story. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, while Anna slept beside me. I started piecing it together. The scarf at Mark's, the perfume at his house, her slipping out into his car, the lies about work. My best friend and my wife. The two people I trusted most. I wasn't ready to say it out loud. Not yet. But the puzzle was almost complete. The next day, I tried something different. I asked Anna if she wanted to go out for dinner, just the two of us. She hesitated, then said she had plans with a coworker. I pushed. Which coworker? She glared. Why do you care all of a sudden? I said nothing, just let the silence hang. Eventually she snapped. You're unbelievable, grabbed her purse, and stormed out. I watched from the window as she walked quickly down the street, not toward her car, but toward the corner where a black sedan waited. The headlights flicked on, and she climbed inside. I felt something in me crack. I knew that car. It was Mark's. I didn't chase after them. I didn't call. I just stood there in the dark, fists clenched, heart pounding, realizing the truth was finally staring me in the face. And the worst part? I still hadn't confronted either of them. Not yet. After watching Anna climb into a black sedan that night, I was certain it was Mark, my best friend. The idea made me sick, but everything pointed to him. His odd behavior, the scarf at his place, the perfume. I lay awake half the night, fists clenched, imagining the two of them laughing behind my back. The next morning, Anna was all sunshine, making coffee, humming to herself, asking if I wanted toast. I stared at her across the table, waiting for some sign of guilt, but she wasn't nervous. She was calm, too calm, almost like she knew I was chasing the wrong person. That weekend, Mark invited me over to watch the game. His wife wasn't there, which had become a pattern. He seemed distracted, kept stepping outside to take calls, kept his phone face down on the table. I watched him carefully, waiting for him to slip. At one point, his phone buzzed and lit up before he could grab it. I caught a glimpse of the name on the screen, Anna. My stomach dropped. When he came back inside, I didn't mention it. I just kept drinking my beer, nodding at the TV, but inside I was boiling. Later, I told Anna I'd seen her name on Mark's phone. She didn't even blink. So, he texted me about a recipe. His wife asked for it. It was a weak excuse, but she said it so smoothly that I started doubting myself. The next few days, I thought about it nonstop. And then, out of nowhere, Mark's twin brother, Luke, called me. We're not close. He's the kind of guy who drifts in and out of people's lives, always chasing something new, jobs, girlfriends, cities. He sounded unusually cheerful. Hey, man, we should hang out soon. Been a while. I mentioned it to Anna later that night. She froze, then forced a smile. Oh, Luke? That's random. What does he want? Just to grab a drink, I guess, I said. Don't, she said quickly, then backtracked. I mean, don't let him rope you into his nonsense. You know how he is. Her tone was too sharp, too defensive. I tucked it away in the back of my mind. A couple of nights later, I came home early. The living room smelled faintly of cologne, different from mine. 2 wine glasses sat on the counter, one freshly rinsed. Anna looked startled when she saw me. You're home already? She asked. Yeah. Did you have someone over? She hesitated for a split second. Yeah. Jenna stopped by? Jenna again. Always Jenna. But I didn't believe it anymore. The next weekend, I agreed to meet Luke. As soon as I walked into the bar, I felt something shift. He looked smug, comfortable. He asked about Anna almost immediately. How's she been? Still keeping you on your toes? His eyes glinted with something I couldn't place. Halfway through the night, he excused himself to take a call outside. When his phone lit up as he picked it up, I saw the name. Anna. My pulse thundered in my ears. For weeks I'd been sure it was Mark. But suddenly everything clicked. The perfume, the late nights, the car that looked like his. It wasn't Mark. It was Luke. I barely slept after seeing Anna's name flash across Luke's phone. For weeks, I'd been circling Mark like a hawk, convinced he was the one betraying me. But now, the pieces fit too perfectly. Luke was always around in the background, borrowing things from Mark, showing up at parties, dropping in without warning. I'd never paid him much attention. That was my mistake. The next day, I tested Anna. Hey, I said casually over breakfast. Guess who I ran into last night? Luke. Her hand froze halfway to her mouth. Oh, that's random. What did he want? Just drinks, I said, watching her carefully. Said we should catch up. She set her coffee cup down too hard. Don't let him drag you into his crap. You know how he is. Her voice was sharp, almost panicked. That told me everything I needed to know. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I pretended everything was normal. I kissed her on the cheek before work, asked about her day, let her think she still had me fooled. Meanwhile, I started paying closer attention. A few nights later, she said she was meeting Jenna again. I let her go, then waited 15 minutes before heading out. I drove past the restaurant she claimed she was going to. No sign of her car. I circled around the neighborhood, trying not to look like a stalker. That's when I saw it. Luke's beat-up gray Honda parked outside a cheap motel on the edge of town. I pulled into a gas station across the street and waited. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. 20 minutes later, the door to one of the rooms opened. Anna stepped out first, hair messy, clutching her purse. Luke followed, grinning like an idiot, tossing his keys in the air. He kissed her quickly before they split up and walked to their cars. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. That was it. Proof. Not guesses, not suspicions, proof. I drove home before she did. When she walked in an hour later, she acted exhausted, muttering something about Jenna needing to vent about work. She smelled of perfume and cheap motel soap. I nearly laughed in her face. Instead, I played dumb. How's Jenna? I asked. She froze for a split second before forcing a smile. Same as always. Why? Just curious, I said, keeping my tone even. That night, lying beside her in bed, I realized I couldn't hold it in much longer. The betrayal wasn't just hers, it was Luke's too. My best friend's twin brother. The guy who had been in and out of my life for years, eating at my table, clinking beers with me at barbecues. And the whole time, he was sneaking around with my wife. The next morning, I called Mark. I didn't tell him what I'd seen, not yet. I just asked if Luke had been around much lately. He sighed. Yeah, too much. Crashing at my place half the time. Why? I swallowed hard. No reason. But inside, I was done playing dumb. The next time I saw Luke, I wasn't going to smile, shake his hand, or pretend everything was normal. The next time, I was going to look him in the eye and make him admit it. Because I finally knew the truth. And now, I needed to hear it from him. I didn't have to wait long to see Luke again. Mark invited me over that weekend for a small get-together. Just a couple of beers, nothing serious. But I knew Luke would be there. He always showed up when free drinks were involved. When I arrived, Luke was already sprawled on the couch, laughing like he owned the place. He greeted me with his usual smirk. Hey, brother-in-law, he said. The words hit differently now. My stomach churned. Mark disappeared into the kitchen to grab more snacks, leaving the two of us alone for a moment. Luke leaned back, sipping his beer, scrolling through his phone with that same smug grin. I caught a glimpse of his lock screen. It wasn't just a generic picture, it was Anna. A selfie I knew I didn't take. My blood boiled. Nice wallpaper, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. He locked the phone instantly and slipped it into his pocket. What jealous, he chuckled, as if it was a joke. But his eyes betrayed him, nervous, darting. Before I could say more, Mark came back, oblivious. You guys good? Yeah, Luke answered quickly. Too quickly. I left soon after, pretending I wasn't feeling well. On the drive home, I gripped the steering wheel so hard my hands went numb. I couldn't keep pretending. The man had my wife's face as his background, like some kind of trophy. When I walked into the house, Anna was already there. She was on the phone, laughing softly. She hung up when she saw me. That was Jenna, she said without prompting. Uh-huh, I replied, staring at her. I was done listening to her recycled lies. The next day, I called Luke directly. We need to talk. Just us. He hesitated, then agreed to meet at a dive bar downtown. When I walked in, he was already there, leaning against the booth like he didn't have a care in the world. I sat down across from him. Cut the crap, Luke. How long has this been going on? He raised his eyebrows, feigning innocence. What are you talking about? You and Anna, I said flatly. His smirk faltered for half a second, then returned. Relax. You're imagining things. Imagining? I snapped. I saw you two at the motel. I saw her walk out with you. Don't play dumb. For the first time, he didn't have a comeback. He just sat there, silent, his grin fading. Finally, he muttered, Guess you figured it out. My fists clenched under the table. You've been crossing the line with my wife. My own wife. And you thought I wouldn't notice? He shrugged. She came to me. not the other way around. The casual way he said it made my vision blur with rage. Don't you dare put this on her, I spat. You're my friend's brother. You've been in my house, eating at my table, and this is what you do? Luke leaned forward, lowering his voice. You weren't giving her what she wanted. I did. That's all there is to it. I nearly jumped across the table right then, but I forced myself to stay seated. I needed to hear it from Anna's mouth too. I stood up, shaking. This isn't over, I said, my voice low. Luke just leaned back, smirking again, like he'd won something. Whatever you say, man. As I walked out of that bar, one thought burned in my head. Tonight, I'd confront Anna. No more games. No more lies. The time for pretending was over. When I left that bar after confronting Luke, I knew there was no turning back. I'd spent weeks circling lies, chasing shadows, but now I had the truth, straight from his own mouth. Anna wasn't just cheating. She was cheating with Luke, my best friend's twin brother. I drove home shaking. My head was pounding, hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles ached. By the time I walked through the front door, I was ready. No more waiting. Anna was on the couch, scrolling her phone like nothing was wrong. She looked up, smiled faintly. Hey, you're home early. I didn't sit down. We need to talk. Her smile faltered. What about Luke? I said. She froze, phone still in her hand. For a moment, she didn't blink. Then she laughed nervously. What about him? Stop, I snapped. I went to the bar tonight. I asked him directly. He admitted it. I know Anna. The motel, the late nights, the lies about Jenna. All of it. Her face drained of color. She set the phone down slowly, like it weighed 100 pounds. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, I cut her off. You've been sneaking around with him. My friend's brother. You've sat here in this house, looked me in the eye, and lied to me over and over. And for what? Him? Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't care. It wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. But it did, I shot back. And you kept choosing it. Every single time you walked out that door, every time you lied about Jenna, every time you climbed into his car, you chose this. She covered her face with her hands. I felt invisible. You were always working, always distracted. Luke was just there. Don't you dare put this on me, I said, my voice shaking with rage. You had options. You could have talked to me. You could have ended it. But you decided to crawl into bed with him instead. For the first time in years, I felt nothing for her. No sympathy, no love, not even hate, just emptiness. I grabbed the overnight bag I'd packed earlier in the week, the one I kept hidden in the closet for when this day came. We're done, I said. She looked up, eyes wide. Wait, you're leaving? Just like that? Yes, just like that, I said coldly. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I walked out, slamming the door behind me. Outside, the air felt sharper, cleaner, even though my chest still ached. I sat in my car for a long moment, staring at the house. The place that used to feel like home now looked like a shell. I started the engine and drove away, not knowing exactly where I was headed, but knowing I wasn't coming back. That night, I texted Mark. I need to tell you something about your brother. About Anna. Meet me tomorrow. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. Luke had burned every bridge, not just mine. And Mark deserved to know the truth too. As I drove through the dark streets, one thought kept repeating in my mind. I'd lost a wife, but I wasn't going to lose myself.